Some things that happen for the first time da, 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 seem to be happening again. And though it seems we stood and talked like this before, and then we laughed before all that we love. Okay, hang on. I got it on one side here. Let me check it out. I got to make sure I got one other thing. If it's cooking right, we will get this thing started. And yes, we are up and running. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Trippett. Welcome to Chattin on the Porch. I am known affectionately as your front porch conservative. I am also known as that fine fella in the fedora. Sometimes I go by the title The Beau and the Chapeau, and sometimes I'm known as the wise guy in the wide brim. Welcome, one and all, to Chattin on the Front Porch. You know, it's not often in life you get the chance to talk to somebody who's just as big a smart aleck as you are, but this is one of those nights, and I have got one of the coolest dudes that you're ever going to get the chance to sit down and talk to. Smart, intelligent. You can pay me for all this later, dude. Don't worry. I'm going to bring him in right now. He is any number of different things. Writer, thinker, in the modern parlance, shit talker. Just an all-around good dude. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the inestimable Mike Harlow. Mike Harlow, welcome to my front porch.
To live up to.
Dude, you got all that down cold. You've been doing that stone cold for years. What are you talking about? And on top of that, there's probably stuff I didn't even list. So, you know.
Thanks, Brian. We've been trying to figure out when we could talk for the longest time. You're the best. I'm so excited.
And my good friend Mr. Lowry has already said sound and video are good. Robert, thank you,
I have a
sir.
mic now. I've had my audio situation has just been abysmal for the longest time. So I'm very proud. I feel like, Pat Benatar right now. Which is all I want to be anyway.
I was going like Joey from the Ramones, but the way you kind of gripping that thing's like death grip on that thing. So, oh my gosh, we're gonna have a whole bunch of. Okay, this apparently is something that is in your wheelhouse, not mine. Or okay.
He loves triggering me.
Okay,
and I love Chris.
Okay.
He has great opinions on everything except food.
Okay. And apparently your audience knows exactly. So, this is gonna be so much fun.
I know I'm Italian. We take our food very seriously. So he likes to always say that he's making frozen pizzas and jarred sauce, and I turn into Trigglypuff.
Now, if it were an issue that you weren't a full Italian, a good Italian, and an Italian cook, and someone says, "Yeah, I use Prego and yeah, I use frozen pizza," okay, whatever. But say that
why?
Like
For
you.
what reason?
Well, okay, but not
it's
all
not
of us
cheaper. It's not faster. What?
Well, but okay, not all of us have the time or the talent or the patience to go into a kitchen and do what you Italians can do.
You
I mean,
chop up
seriously.
some garlic, put it in the oil, put in tomatoes. That's it.
Okay, we're going to talk after this stream, my friend. I'm going to have a pad of paper and it's like be scribbling for all I'm worth. It's like, brother, how are you doing, man? You are just all over the place.
You picked a good time because, it is the holy month of obligation now. So I feel like I got some pepper in my panties this month. I'm already sick of it.
My God, we're not even 24 hours into this damn thing, and you can't be sick of this already.
I saw somebody on Twitter say before, they're like, now it's Pride Month. I feel like that was the last 5 months. I was like, what do you mean, just the last 5 months? Somebody in Canada, I think it was Trudeau or some politician in Canada was like, it's Pride season now. Oh, season! It's a whole season.
Oh, we have a season going on now, do we? Oh.
Pride Millennium.
Oh, Jesus God! It's like, yeah. Now I can understand. Now I can understand why the gays are sick of Pride Month.
Yes.
I was on a stream last night with Daniel and Brentley. They invited me back. God only knows why. Well, no, actually, they needed a token straight. So they called me and I've said this joke to them, so they know. So I'm not busting their balls here. It's like, so they know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, and we got to the end of it, and I said, okay, this is not necessarily topic related, but since we're now a few hours away, Pride Month, and everybody went, "Oh my God!" I'm
So
like,
sick.
"Boy, it's like, jeez, okay." It's
I'm
like,
so
alrighty
over
then.
it. It's completely out of control at this point.
Yeah, but look at it this way, dude. You get a whole month of being able to
Just
take.
shit.
Yeah, you just stir it. Just like you're going to drop so many comments on Twitter and in various other places. Do you have any idea how many people that you have the potential to piss off in the next 29
That's
days?
all I try to do.
I know. It's like, I mean, I say you're a social media provocateur. Dude, it's a title worthy of you. I mean, you are one of those rare few people in life without even really trying, without trying to be rude, without trying to be offensive, without trying, you can say something, and all of a sudden it blows up like a damned atomic bomb. It's like, it's like people are like,
It's funny. That's literally the sort of stuff that made me leave the left. Is I would just say the most mundane things that these people would flip out about. I remember there was, and this is back when I was, because for anyone who doesn't know, I was a liberal my whole life. I was a Democrat my whole life, and then in sort of that period where I was like very slowly starting to wake up to it, even if I would just make like an objective joke, gently poking fun at both sides, or something, that wasn't allowed. Like I made a joke once about it was like on Facebook about the Senate election in Texas. I know they just get pissed off anyway. But I'd said something about the Texas election, and I was like, "Oh, we have a Hispanic man named Raphael pretending his name is Ted, so people think he's white, and we have a white man named Robert Francis pretending his name is Beto, so people think he's Hispanic." There were over 1,000 comments on it of people flipping out, "How dare you, fascist Nazi!" So you can't even.
that was tame.
I know. Those were always the things that would get me in trouble.
Oh my gosh. Well, like I say, you have a whole month to just figure out new. You're gonna be like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, sitting around going,
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm working on. I've always been very bad about like being consistent with making videos and stuff, but I have a whole plan for this month, because one thing that's kind of annoying me a little bit is I feel like a lot of, and I completely understand. Anybody with eyes and ears understands where it comes from. That all of the issues of the alphabet are getting pinned on the transes, and obviously that's like the next and greatest evolution of it. But I do think there's an aspect of it of some of these gay men wanting to sweep over all the problems within us. So that's kind of something I want to talk about. I'm like, I don't want to LGB drop the T. I want to dismantle the whole alphabet.
Yeah, I was doing a video late this afternoon. I've got it uploaded on my channel. Which, by the way, okay, here's the shameless plug and commercial. If you're not subscribed to either one of our channels, what in the world is the matter with you people? Seriously, do it. You know you want to. All the cool kids are doing it. But
Peer pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. No,
All the pressure.
Oh well, okay, yeah, that's true. We are trying to grift here.
Yeah, bad grifters.
I know. Well, see, you got a few steps ahead of me on the whole grifting thing. I'll give you that.
I didn't.
I know. But I'm just saying. I mean, I am grifter in training, or what's the Jedi term? I am like grifter apprentice or grifter something.
I'm aspiring grifter. According to Twitter, I'm full grifter, but I don't know. I feel like I'm still aspiring.
Well, hell, according to Twitter and stalls of bathroom walls, you're a whole lot of things. But we're gonna leave all that aside.
Bitch.
Bastard. I told you, give it as good as you get it. Damn it, I'm not.
Oh, you know I will, bitch.
Oh, bring it, brother. Bring it. Just come on. I told you. The bandana meets the fedora. Let's go.
By the way, it was lovely to see you in Florida last fall.
Oh, yes.
Very Smith.
That was one of the best treats. I mean, here's how. Okay. Mike and I met at, the preamble to Chrissy Mayer's Content House Orlando and the Geeks and Gamers meetup. Now, I'll give it from my side of it. I had just finished dinner at a restaurant down a set of steps from the Improv Club. And I walked up, and it was
What did you
just
have?
do what?
What did you have for dinner? I'm only interested in the food.
Oh God, saying this in front of an Italian is going to get me shot. I know. I had chicken Alfredo at Maggiano's Little Italy.
That's
Nope.
okay.
Okay. Okay. Just two, three, four. I'm just calming you down here.
It
Okay.
was
'Cause
fine.
You're giving me the owl blink. I'm a little worried. So
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no. So I walk up the steps, and it is an absolutely perfect evening. There's like this gloriously warm breeze, and I'm standing there, and it's about 7 o'clock, before half an hour before the show starts. And somewhere on the wind, I hear this voice going. Rah, 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 rah. Well, I turn and look. Here comes Kumia, with his entourage in tow. You got Stancil, you got everybody else, and then you walk by me, and I'm like, well, ain't no way in hell that's anybody but Mike Harlow. That's just got to be Mike. So then I get inside, and I do this kind of like screwy greeting with Carrie, where I send someone over to the table, and she gets this message, and she pops her head up like a gopher out of the ground, and she brings me over the table, and that's where Mike and I meet formally. And I tell you what, and I mean this in all sincerity for anybody who's watching the stream right now, this is probably one of the coolest dudes you will ever get the pleasure of hanging out with.
I disagree.
Well, you are. You genuinely are. You're funny. You're informative. You're talkative. And great fashion sense, might I add. Damn it.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. You do try to be complimentary of every guest I have on the porch. So there you go.
All of them? Have there been shitty ones?
Well, so far you're the third one.
Ones.
Dan and Brentley were the first. So there will be others.
How long have you been doing the show?
This is the second episode of Chattin on the Porch. I've had the channel up and running for like 3 months.
I don't know why I thought you'd been doing it for so long. That's awesome.
Oh, good God, no. Are you kidding me? I
Nice.
am like a poor man's I'm the guy in the textbook for broadcasters, like, don't do it like this guy. This guy's the one you want to find. But
Well,
no,
we got to talk once you do more, and I want to hear about what guests are shitty.
Well, I've
What
already
about some beauties?
I will not mention names, nor will I give any context under which their name might otherwise be deciphered. But I've already determined that there are certain individuals that I will never, ever have on my channel. I don't care. You couldn't pay me enough money to bring them on. So we'll just leave it at that. But no, you're like my officially. See, do you count Dan and Brentley as one, or do you count them as a pair? Because if you count them as a pair, you're the third. And if you count them as one, you're the second.
It's Dangerous Rhetoric is one.
Oh, well,
So.
okay. This is true. So you are my second official guest
Woo!
for Chatting on the Porch. And you know what? I get high quality on the show. I don't bring any slouches up here. No, absolutely not. All right.
Yeah, I've learned, I think, because I've been, like I said, I've always been horrible about like being consistent with making stuff. But so the past probably like since this year started, have been trying to do weekly / bi-weekly shows of my show mikeroaggress'd. But yeah, I've learned that like you can't take people who suddenly want to be like content creators. You can't assume that they're genuine. I think we need a lot more vetting on our side.
I can agree with that. Totally.
And I think I've learned that like for me personally with like content creators going forward, they're guilty until proven innocent. They're full of shit until proven otherwise.
Oh, that's probably a very good position to take.
I think so, because there are just so many that are so lovely and so nice until they're not.
And it takes
it'll
one
come
thing
fast.
to set them off. Oh yeah, just one thing to set them off.
Or not even sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. They can just wake
There's
up in a
this
shitty
bitch
mood and be like,
I've been dying to rip into for a while that I finally called her out today. Because there are a lot of, I feel like there are a lot of people who kind of, I mean, I don't typically like to assume people's intentions or whatever. Well, I guess I do. But I think there are people who try to like kind of, who don't have good intentions and try to infiltrate and give the appearance they agree and they're against the woke insanity and all that. And then all of a sudden they'll start pitting everyone against each other and they'll start causing a lot of hate and a lot of division. And then before you know it, they'll be full on leftist. So I've seen that happen a bunch of times.
Yeah, very true. Well, okay, now you just said something, and I'm gonna give you a wide open lane here, dude. Speaking of bitches you don't mind calling out, who is this Karen? What's a Boroshenko?
Oh God, do we have
No, no,
to?
dude. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But it's like she's got this between you and Lady Carrie Smith. She's got a pardon a horribly crass way of saying, she's got a hard on for both of you. I am telling you what.
Which fine, have it for me. I'm a bitch on wheels. Have it for me. But Carrie is just the greatest person in the universe. Like,
shout out to Carrie
anybody,
Smith, absolutely.
Yeah. I never talk about her unless somebody asks. If people ask me, I'm happy to tell the truth. But yeah, it's a life sentence at this point. I've gotten used to it in the way that you get used to an appendage, everything. Somebody sent me the other night, she was making another video about an article I wrote in February. Still talking. Like, everything I do, everywhere I go. It's not about her specifically. I want to make, like, I guess, a larger point that it's what I've come to learn is really strange about when people perceive you as having any slight following or being the slightest bit known for something. I don't fucking think I am. Who the hell am I? But when other people seem to think you are, any person who gets a hard on for you ever, it will be a life sentence. You will never get rid of them.
I can see that. Yeah, she's kind of like a boil on your ass that there's no amount of whatever you get to burn off. Yeah.
No. Yeah,
you went after my friend Mikey, lady. You're a boil on the ass of humanity. That's just all there is to it. So,
it kind of has taught me about how people like Harvey Weinstein get away with it, because so many people are willing to turn a blind eye and go, "Oh, but she makes good content." But I'm like, yeah, and Jeffrey Epstein gave lots of money to charity, and Harvey Weinstein made some great films.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a life sentence. I've grown used to it. Well, but yeah, I think the point is, though, we need to, in general, be a lot more. There needs to be a lot more vetting. We need to be more skeptical of people before giving them the keys to the kingdom.
Oh, yeah, by all means. Now, you just said something else, and it's one of the things I forgot to list among your many talents. You are an absolute film connoisseur, particularly in the area of horror films. And yes. Now, for those who are watching, I'll give you an idea how good this cat is. Marshall Beaupre's wife, Lindsay, if you follow them on social media, Twitter in particular, happened to make the statement, okay, I'm home on a Saturday night. I really want to watch some horror movies.
Let's go.
And, somebody give me some recommendations. So I tagged Mike in a tweet, and I said, dude, this is your field. What do you got?
This is my moment.
This cat ripped off about 15 different titles in one tweet. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
It's
get all this.
It's honestly my goal for, like, I'm hoping that all of these things that are issues now will just not be issues anymore magically, and things will change. It is my goal to never have to talk about politics again. I just want to talk about food and horror movies. Like, I am so over all this shit, but here we are.
Okay, all right, now let me ask you a question. Where did you get the Jones that you've got for that genre of movie? Where did you get your love for horror movies, and why horror movies?
Because they represent the meaning of life.
Ooh,
that's
okay.
what they're about.
Now you got to expand that one out, dude.
Horror movies are the meaning of life. They're not. It's not about, like, kills or killers or whatever. It is about it has the essence of what life is about in one horror movie. Life is about surviving and making it to the end credits, defeating the monster, fighting, and making it to daylight.
Okay.
It's the meaning of life.
Okay. Millicent, if you stick around long enough, between Mike and I, we're going to come up with all kinds of eloquent insults. So you get your scratch pad ready. Make sure the pen's going good. So we'll be throwing these babies out all night long at no charge, and they're not copyrighted. All we ask, you just give us credit for it. That's. Oh, I got this one off Harlow. This one he dropped somewhere. It's like, oh my god,
that's yours.
So is it just confined to horror movies, or is it just movies in general? Because I think, okay, all right, then you're going to appreciate this reference. I've been working on videos now for a while, and I have come to the conclusion that the YouTube algorithm is much like, you've seen the movie Excalibur, right? The one
No.
1980. What?
I have. That's what's weird about me is I love movies, but I've never seen so many like very
Okay.
well-known movies.
Okay.
I've never
1980.
seen Indiana Jones. I never saw The Goonies until like 2 weeks ago. I know it was amazing. It was so good.
That was when I mean, don't get me wrong. Spielberg is
Oh,
always good.
he was. He was. What has happened, by the way? I swear, there's some like infection in the water in Hollywood that's infecting directors. Because what the hell?
Oh, I
What
know.
happened to Robert Zemeckis? What happened to Steven Spielberg? What happened to Rob Marshall? What happened to all these people? I do. Sorry, not to rant about this.
No,
However,
go for it,
I
dude.
don't
Go.
understand how the person who made Who Framed Roger Rabbit, who made Back to the Future, is making the Pinocchio reboot and like the things that he's doing now. Or like Rob Marshall, this motherfucker directed Chicago and now he's making like Disney remakes. The only one who's still great, there are two, but one of them has kind of been canceled out of oblivion, Martin Scorsese and Woody Allen,
I'll agree with that.
who is innocent.
Woody Allen is probably one. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of all of his films, but he's original, and there's no two films that are alike. They are each one has its own uniqueness. You can't say, "Oh, this Woody Allen film reminds me of," and go back. Coppola, you said Scorsese? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still great.
I mean, when he got to direct Paul Newman in The Color of Money, oh my God, it's like, oh.
There's nobody else at the age that he's at still making movies that are so ballsy.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. He's got a movie coming out sometime this fall, and when I heard the cast, I was like, oh. Now, only Scorsese could pull this off. DiCaprio, De Niro, he got Brendan Fraser. It's some Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
You know what's interesting though is like, first of all, I just can't stand this trend of, oh, and Quentin Tarantino I should have included in that, though he's only making one more though. But yeah, I just can't stand this whole sort of modern film. Hey, Leah, have a good dinner, my darling. Yeah, I can't stand this whole sort of digital green screen CGI filmmaking. It's so terrible. Whenever you look at, like, just look at any of the modern Disney movies or the Disney remakes. Every actor in it just has the same glazed over look in their eye. They look like they would rather be anywhere else on Earth. And how could they not? Because they're all alone in a studio with green screens talking to a tennis ball.
Yeah, there's
like,
no,
you can't, like, film is an art form. This is not the way to do it.
there's no interaction. There's no anything else. You have this CGI'd character that you're talking to, or you're literally talking to a blank wall. You can't.
Who looks like the fucking liminal spaces. Oh, can I say the fuck word?
Dude, I don't give a shit what you say on that.
Okay, good. Some people are like, oh, you can't swear.
Look, this is
I
free
would be
speech zone, dude.
I know I would never get asked to go on Tim Pool, but if I were, my ass crack would be sweating because he's so emphatic about you can't swear. I would say nothing. I would just sit there like biting my nails.
You know, I take Gino Bisconti's position on this. It's a word. That's all it is a word.
That was always my mom's position too, which is why I say it.
Your mother is the Italian Joan Rivers. I saw her once on. No, it was your guys' Oscar review. Oh my gosh, your mom! I kept watching. I was like, my God, this is Joan Rivers.
I told her that you made her day. She was the best, Joan Rivers. That's what's sad is we don't have any of those figures left anymore who are the least bit transgressive, at least not in mainstream culture.
Yeah, I mean, and Chrissy's talked about this, Gino's talked about this, Anthony's talked about this. That comedians anymore, and Gino says it best. They're not trying to be funny; they're trying to get laughs. And there's a profound difference in those two things. And I understand exactly what he's getting at. Because if you're trying to be funny, you're not worried about, oh, should I say this or can I say that or what's this person going to think? Screw it. Just be funny. Be yourself. You know?
Carrie calls it clapter.
Oh, that's
Like
good.
that's exactly what it is.
That's good. So okay. So since we swerved into the subject of your mom, for those of you who don't know a lot about your background, tell us about your mom, tell us about your dad. What was it like
Huh?
growing up? Where did you grow up? What
New
was
York City.
okay?
It's
Which by the way, I learned that a term last night that I had never heard, but when it was said, it struck me funny. New York gay, and I'm like, I looked at the guy, I was like,
that a term?
the hell's a New York gay? It's like, yeah,
Insufferable.
okay, but all right, back to the question.
What did they mean by that though? I haven't heard that
Well, no,
term.
it was Brentley, and
Bitchy.
he was talking about something. I forget what the context was, and he dropped the phrase New York gay, and I gave him this funny look on camera, and I'm like, so when it got around to I said, Brentley, you gotta help me out here, dude. I'm from the South. What's a New York gay? It's like, what is this unique thing of which you speak? It's like, so
Insufferable. I've always wondered if the gay people are maybe less horrible outside of like New York, LA, those types of places. I guess I wouldn't really know. They probably are, but maybe a little bit better.
okay. Well, let's
Yeah, no,
let's.
I'm jealous. People always are like, "Oh, what was it like growing up in New York?" I'm like, I'm jealous of people who grew up in the suburbs. To me, that seems so exotic. I mean, that's like telling me you grew up like on safari in Africa. It's so far removed from my comprehension. I'm jealous. Like, I wish I grew up like the freaking Goonies.
So what are we talking here? Like, um, downtown Manhattan, downtown
No,
one of the boroughs, or I mean,
no, in Manhattan. Have you ever seen the movie You've Got Mail?
yeah.
That they filmed it in my neighborhood when I was a kid. That movie is basically just like a
Oh wow.
guided tour of where I grew up. And it's I rewatched it a couple months ago, and it is so depressing because it used to be so people, people shit on New York now, and people forget what New York used to be. It was so beautiful. It was a home. It was,
Yeah.
it was amazing. And every place in the movie is tied to like a memory from my childhood. Like they show a bagel place in it, and it's like that's where my dad used to go on Sundays to get us bagels. Or there's a movie theater. That's the movie theater we would always go to. Or it's everything, and none of it exists anymore. Now that neighborhood is basically just like vagrants, junkies. They have the two bookstores in that movie. They're both just like vacant buildings now that are condemned.
Oh.
Homeless tents, mattresses. It's unbelievable what these people have done to this city.
See, I was having a conversation with someone, and I will confess the same thing to you that I did to them. I am one of those people that I don't do it often enough, but I do love to travel, and when I do, I want to go somewhere and just explore. I went down to Savannah back in March of last year. It was right
Oh,
around St. Patty's Day, and I had a walking stick, and I had finished breakfast. I parked my car, and literally, I look like Gandalf in like in blue jeans or whatever. So I'm walking around everywhere, and I took the tour on the trolley car and everything else, and I just wanted to explore the city and just take it in. And that's the way I feel about New York City. I could spend 3 or 4 weeks in New York City because there's so many things I want to see and do and be a part of, and take in the flavor and try, and it's just like
there is no more flavor.
man.
Maybe there would be for people who are just coming here or
Yeah,
don't know what it used to be.
yeah.
Like it used to be where I would just go on walks for like 4 or 5 hours, and I would come home and 20 different crazy things would have happened, and you would have met a dozen friends along the way. Like it used to be like its own planet, and now it is just dead. Everyone looks down. Half the people are in masks. Everyone avoids each other. There's just no energy left in the city.
That's a
They
crying shame.
destroyed it. And
Mm.
it's not only because of the lockdowns and all of that. It was happening before that with all of these years of failed policy, but that was the death knell. And then of course the segregation that followed, which I still can't believe is a thing that happened.
Oh, and is happening all around the country in places that make no sense. I heard a report the other day about a university, and I forget where it was, where is was it the Board of Governors or something related to the Student Government Association, where they want to introduce a resolution to make the campus segregated voluntarily by their
How
own choice. And
progressive.
I'm thinking, of all places in the world where this should never ever happen, should be on the campus of a university, because that's the place where you're like the debating of ideas, the coming together of different peoples and different ideas, and you figure out how to deal with each other. And now it's reached the point that we're ready to like tear everything further apart in the academy, and that to me is just makes me want to cry. It's like, no, of all places on earth, this should be the last place it ever happens. Just it's terrible.
I mean, it's insane. Last night I was on Walkaway had like a Twitter space, and these insane black Marxists came in. It was insane, the things that they were talking about. And so I finally had to say, just everything, first of all, everything is racial, everything, race is race, black, 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 white, white, white. That's all we care about. But they came in screaming racial slurs at every single person there, including the black people who disagreed with them, calling them the N-word, you're a dirty Asian, you're what, and then screaming that they were being microaggressed and everyone's racist and they need respect and stuff. To get respect, you have to give respect. So they're the biggest racists of all, but then want everyone to bow and grovel to their feet. No, fuck you.
Yeah.
And what I said too, I was like, if they were honest, and it's not that. I mean, I think the black leftists are a bit different from the white liberals. I think the white liberals it's basically luxury beliefs. It's a status symbol. It's the poodle in their purse. It's keeping up with the Joneses. Oh my God. I had to nope out after a couple of hours. The black leftists, I think, do genuinely believe what they're saying, because it's been so ingrained in them.
Yeah.
Just like it was ingrained in me for many years. But so I was like, wait a second though. If the goal were truly to get rid of racism or to reduce racism, why should we not say, hey, this is really counterproductive, what we've been doing. This has only increased racism. This empowers racists and creates new ones. Like, you would think that they would care about that at some point, that if that's your goal, this is taking us further away from it.
Yeah.
And so I finally said to them, I was like, what I want to pose a question to you. Let's say we were starting over with society. We're starting with two groups of kids. The first group, will tell them that no race is any superior or inferior to another. We're all different. That's beautiful. And then we'll move on. Then the second group of kids will teach them critical race theory. We'll teach them neo-Marxism. We'll teach them identity politics. We'll tell the black kids that they're victims. We'll tell the white kids that they're oppressors. In which of those two groups do you think racism will flourish?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have nothing to say. They have nothing to say to that, because it's like and I don't think that this is exclusive to the left by any means, but I think it's like they would rather be right in their mind than be productive or anything.
Yeah, I mean they know what they know, and they know they are right, and it doesn't matter what you say to them. More often than not, you're not going to get through to them, which in one sense is tragic, but I also, believe very much in the idea we keep talking, we keep communicating, we keep the doors open, because there's every so often you finally get to someone and they're like, huh, I hadn't thought about that. And it does happen. And and you mentioned a walk away. You said you grew up a liberal. What was it in your past, in your experience? I mean, there's usually something that, like an event, an idea, something that's presented to a person, and it so shakes them down to their foundations, they reevaluate everything. So what was that thing that made you go from being a New York liberal to where you are now?
It was kind of a long process that I can sort of tie everything back to the beginning. So this sounds strange to say, but I'd say like 2012 was sort of, okay. I wasn't conscious at the time, but it ended up leading me to where I was. And it sort of goes back to, you asked me why I love horror movies. So in 2012, I had a home invasion.
Ooh.
Very violent, very, I survived. I channeled my inner Sidney Prescott. But so anyway, I had to be out of that apartment immediately. It was the middle of the month. There was nowhere to go. So I called up some like room rental service where you just move in that day and pay by the week. They're like, oh, cool. We have a place in Manhattan, 28th Street, great area. I'm like, I will take it. I show up there. It's in the projects. So I lived in the projects for about a month and a half.
Okay.
You cannot live in the projects and come out of there a liberal. It's just not possible. The things that and thank God, I think I was very, very ignorant at the time of the reality I was in. Looking back, I really don't know how I lived. Like, it is so beyond comprehension. When you consider, so I was renting the room for this woman's apartment. She had like 5 different kids, all different fathers, half of them in prison. I asked her, what do you do? She goes, I'm in the system. And her kids will be in the system. And she got it from her parents who were in the system. So I realized how people are being just set up for total failure. And I think it is a huge mistake for conservatives to blame them, because when that's how her kids are going to grow up, that's how she grew up, that's how her parents, like, it's generational at this point, and it is so toxic. It is designed that way to keep people exactly where they are, under the thumb of the Democrat Party.
There are 2 books. One of them I've read, one of them I've heard about. There's a libertarian author who's passed away in the past year and a half, P.J. O'Rourke. Years ago... Oh, one of my favorite authors.
He's great. Him and Christopher Hitchens.
Oh, I loved Hitch. Disagreed with him on quite a few things, but I loved
Same.
Hitch.
I met him back like forever ago.
Wow.
He made a documentary that they were showing at this little art house cinema. I was probably a teenager or something. Yeah, he was amazing.
But O'Rourke wrote a book called Parliament of Whores. And the time frame in which he wrote it is like the late 80s, early 90s. And this was the era of, Poppy Bush. And he had Jack Kemp, who was the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Well, Kemp wanted to do empowerment zones. Well, for some research for an article that O'Rourke was writing for Rolling Stone magazine, he goes to the projects. And there's this lady sitting on a stoop. And he strikes up a conversation with her. And O'Rourke says, well, what do you think of the idea of you actually owning the place where you live? I don't want that. But ma'am, it'd be so much better for you. And he's literally, for the next 10, 15 minutes, going through every good reason why this would be good for her. Didn't want it. That was her same answer over and over and over again. Don't want it. The other book, and kind of came into my consciousness maybe about 3 or 4 years after O'Rourke's, it's called The Tragedy of American Compassion by Marvin Olasky. And what Olasky argued was that in the name of trying to be compassionate to a group of people that we thought were economically impoverished, we have set them generationally into a system that they're never going to get out of unless we just cold turkey break this cycle.
And people like these leftists that we were talking about last night are delusional, because if they've... It's insane. I mean, they're bitching about reparations. They want reparations. Like, okay, you get reparations. Let's say that happened. Great. Mm-hmm. Here, how much do you think it would really even be per person? So, great, you have reparations. Now what? We still have the same system in place, and it'll be right back where you started. It's like how these lottery winners get money one time, and it destroys their lives, and it's gone in a year. Yeah. It wouldn't matter if they got the reparations that they so badly want.
Well, and the argument of reparations goes to something else I've always asked for years when it comes to racism. When is it enough? When have we paid enough for the sins of our fathers? I mean, what penance would you have us pay?
These people kept bringing up, like, the Japanese, we gave it to Japan. I'm like, yes, we gave it to the people who were harmed. If there were people alive today who were slaves, I would support giving them all the reparations of the world. There are
Absolutely.
not.
Absolutely.
And so one of them had made a point about, like, 9/11 and was like, oh, well, 9/11. You always say never forget 9/11 and slavery. And I was like, hold up. Let's expound upon... I, of course, didn't get a chance to get a word in, but so this is what I wanted to say. I would say, okay, wait a second. Let's expand upon that 9/11 ideology, or analogy, excuse me.
Okay.
9/11 was a thing that happened. It was a tragedy. However, look at how that tragedy was used. It was used to justify atrocities against Americans, the Iraq War, the Patriot Act, the NSA. That is how they used this tragedy. And that is how they are using the tragedy of slavery today, to push all of these things that benefit the same fucking people that the Iraq War and the Patriot Act and the NSA benefited. It's the same thing, using a tragedy from the past to gain sympathy, to enact all of these things like critical race theory, identitarian politics, that only benefits the same people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And it amazes me. It's like we're benefiting the same group of people over and over again. I mean, one of the lines from Game of Thrones, that I sticks
Which
in my
I've never seen.
Well,
I was proven right about that. I got so much shit for years that I didn't watch Game of Thrones, and I feel like I won in the end.
Well, I'll put to you this way: if they had stopped at season 5, okay, I'd give you a lot of grief for the fact you hadn't seen Game of Thrones. When they tacked on 6, 7, and 8, and I'm like, oh, this is just pure shite.
That always happens to all the shows that I love. They get really shitty.
Well, but in their case, apparently what happened, and people like Gary Beekler and others Nerdrotic can speak to this better than I can. George R. R. Martin ran out of material. In other words, they burned through all of his books making the scripts, and then all of a sudden the show producers thought, oh, we're as good as George R. R. Martin. We'll just, write out season 6, 7, 8, and no, that's not going to work. And yeah, it's just, break the wheel. That's the phrase that comes to my mind. What do we have to do to break this wheel? Because it just seems like we're spinning around historically the same people, the same groups, the same power structures. We're having the same arguments over and over and over again. And my God, when do we change this? And I'm not talking politically. I'm talking culturally, society-wise.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about slavery 200 years from now.
Yeah.
You mentioned sort of weaponized compassion. It's the same thing with the LGBT issue. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't want to sleep with a trans person, you're racist and homophobic.
The answer is still no, bitch.
No, sorry. In my case, real woman with a dick. Sorry, I'm going for the real woman. It's just, she's right over there.
Oh, I'm sorry, by the way. I went on a tangent, but I was going to say, so yeah, I guess the stuff that had happened then, because you had asked what led to my walkway. I guess the stuff that had happened then sort of like sparked it in my mind, but it wasn't super conscious until a couple years later, when suddenly it was I'd always been interested in politics. So the primary in 2016 obviously had never entered my mind or as even an option to consider Republicans. So I was just trying to educate myself on who to vote for between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Just trying to look at the facts, the records, be very objective. And either way, any point I would raise, any objective, suddenly every minute of the day, I'm a racist, I'm a Nazi, I'm a homophobe, I'm this, I'm that. Anything I said. And then I started, writing was getting censored, everything. And so that just led me to, I've always been the kind of person that, you tell me I can't say something, I'm going to say it louder. So that just led me to asking more questions and seeking more answers. And it wasn't until like a couple years later that I even became a Republican. There was a period of time in between where I was just sort of neither.
I think that's where a lot of people are right now.
Well, and the Republicans are such shit that how could people not be? God. They're an embarrassment. Look what happened yesterday. They're an embarrassment.
Oh, I know. It's like I did a couple or three videos on that, and it's like, why did I bother with the screen time? It's like I knew what was going to happen, but it's just the whole way it went down. It's like, I mean, I watched. There were 2 votes that finally got the thing to the end. One's the motion to bring it to the floor, and the other one is the vote on final passage. Funniest thing happened on the vote to just bring it to the floor. For the longest time, they held the vote open for like 10 minutes, but they never do it on 10 minutes. It's like a half an hour. They were stuck at like 187 yeses. Just stuck there. all Republicans, no Democrats. Then all of a sudden, about 50 Democrats start sweeping over, and the motion to consider the resolution passes, and then they went on to the final vote later in the evening. Now, the funny part about it is, people are claiming, and these are Democrats, they're like, well, yeah, McCarthy struck a deal with Hakeem Jeffries and got us on it board and said we're going to get earmarks out of this and blah, blah, blah. Now, both of them are denying it. Oh, no, we never promised each other that. No, somebody promised somebody something. Don't tell me you didn't. You had no reason to vote for that thing. Y'all think I were stupid or something? But yeah, it just boggles the mind. It really does. I mean, and talking about the Bernie Bros, there's a group of
or the Hillary clits.
Yeah.
They're both insufferable.
Oh, absolutely. But the Bernie Bros I actually feel sorry for, because, and that's where we are in this country. There's a group of people. They're not Democrats. They're not Republicans. They don't even put a label on themselves, but they're hungry for like real, genuine, honest to God, honest leadership.
I don't know. I think that's how it should be. There should be an alliance of left and right populists, but there isn't, because the leftist mentality is to comply, to do what they're told, and they do it all the time. Bernie Sanders himself bent over. Please, none of us have gotten fucked like Bernie Sanders has in a long time. And he's like, yes, mistress, give me more. And does what he's told, and yes, Hillary, yes, Joe, yes, DNC, whatever you want. I think maybe when he first started, he wanted to be something different. He was at one point very against illegal immigration, so he could have actually been someone different. No, all of these people who claim, as soon as they vote for Joe Biden, that's telling me you don't mean a word of what you say, because you cannot cry about, oh, the system, and then vote for one of the architects of it.
Oh, you just put a horrible image in my head, you dirty rat. You said, yes, mistress, give me more. I've got this vision of Bernie on a leash in like some.
I made a meme of that a while ago.
Tell me where
he was bent over though with them.
Oh my God. See,
but they do what they told.
This is why I love having this man on this show, because just moments just like this, it's like. It's like
they do what they're told.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I heard one individual describe it. It's like a hive. All the bees have to buzz the same pitch, the same rhythm, the same speed. And if you get out of that, oh no, we're going to smack you down. We got to stop you from doing that. You can't be different. You can't be an individual.
If these people were honest about the things they claim to be for in 2020, Trump was the better liberal out of the two of them. He's a better conservative.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
that's an interesting way to describe him.
Yeah, if their words meant anything, which they do not.
Yeah, exactly. But so you come out of liberalism. How did you and Brandon? Because I've seen interviews where you, Carrie, and others are talking about your moment of walking away. How did you and Brandon Strachan become associated? Oh God, the way you're laughing, I'm almost scared now.
Like that. Oh my God.
No, it just I'm seeing the deviousness, the devious wheels in your head start spinning. Okay.
So there was this guy that I had gone on a couple dates with.
Okay.
He was so cute. He's had like all this face work done though. He was kind of like nerdy cute, and he's had all this face work done and bleached his hair. I saw a picture of him recently. Awful. That's besides the point. However,
he let himself go, or what the?
No, he just looks like a Ken doll. He had his whole face done.
Oh, he'll be first in line to go to the Barbie movie. You know that's going to happen.
Yeah. But so anyway, so I'd been on a couple dates with this guy, and I could tell like he was super not into me, like extraordinarily not into me. But he would keep wanting to make plans and shit. So I'm like, what the hell? So anyway, and he was a Republican. And this was the time, I'd only recently walked away. I was losing every friend I'd ever had. So I was like, and I wasn't even a Republican, but I was like, yes, anyone who's not, So anyway, this guy, super not into me. He invites, in a very unenthusiastic way, he invites me to this party at someone's house of like gay Republicans.
Okay.
And I was like, that was like a very half-assed invite. Like, does that mean I shouldn't go? but then why would he tell me about it? I don't know.
Oh, it's
So
one of
this
those
is what
kind
a
of
nut job
invitations.
I am.
Okay.
That I clicked on the event invite on Facebook, and I look at who's going. Having no idea who this person is, I click on the first name I see, someone named Brandon Struck. This is like 3 a.m, by the way. And I message this total this is before he started Walk Away. This is before anything. 3 a.m, out of nowhere, I message this total stranger. Hey, so I saw you're going to this party, and there's this guy that I'm into, but he's not into me, but he invited me to this thing, and I don't know if he wanted me to go because it seemed unenthusiastic, so should I go? But then he doesn't want me to go, and it's awkward, so I don't know if I should go. Should I not go? Because why would he invite me, but why did it sound half-assed? So I don't know. What should I do? And I sent it, and then 2 seconds later, I was like, oh, my God. And so I sent another message. I was like, wait, why am I telling you this? I don't know you. So I went to the party. I got no response. I go to the party, and Brandon said that when I walked in, he was like, is that Antifa? And I don't even remember us talking all that much at that party. We did a little bit. Probably both thought each other was crazy and whatever. But then we started talking. We started sharing our writing with each other. And he really liked mine, and I really liked it. We just became really good friends. And then one day, maybe like a month later, he calls me one day. He's like, hey, so I had an idea. And that was Walk Away. And so we filmed his video right after. And the funny thing also is I met another one of my best friends, my friend AJ, that at that same party. So I met 2 of my best friends from this shitty guy who didn't even want me to go there.
That's now, okay, if I'd have been Brandon at 3 a.m. and you're writing all this down, I would be looking at it going, I don't know what kind of speed you're on, but dude, that crap must be good because damn.
Dude, when I was in high school, the principal used to call meetings with my parents to say that I was drunk and high. And I'd never even been drunk or high at the time. And my parents had to explain, no, that's literally just how he is.
Oh,
they were like, come on.
That's funny.
They didn't believe it.
No, there are some people that they've got that kind of energy, and which you just said something. See, this is why I love having conversations, particularly with someone like you. You'll do something, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we've got a different road. Here's the off ramp. Now we're gonna go. Here we go. You have a Substack account, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mike Hart. That guy is my. See, I'm still getting used to cameras. There we go. Okay, this guy, Mike Harlow, fabulous writer. You have a Substack account. Do you not?
I do. I just made it recently. I have a new one. I have a couple new ones I'm working on, but I'll have another one, a new one in like a day or two.
Okay, so how long have you been writing?
Oh God, a long time.
Okay.
I loved writing when I was a kid, and then when I was a teenager, I was kind of like singing in bands, so I sort of got away from it for a bit, and then I got back to it in my 20s.
Okay. So what got you into writing? Was it just like, I need an outlet to say things, I need an outlet for creativity, and this gives me...
Yeah, it kind of started over on Facebook years ago that I would just write like these long epic things, and people oddly enough seem to start, oh, thanks, Millie. Oddly enough, people seem to start liking them. And then I started, I had a blog at the time that I started writing, and they were just like bad date stories from my life because I attract all the winners.
Well, I mean, I've read 2 or 3 of your articles, and I'll tell you what, I mean, I am no literary critic, and God knows I never want to be. I don't want to be F. Murray Abraham from Finding Forrester. I don't want to be that critic that just sits around and says, oh, it could have been so good, but if in 1974 you would have used a different comma on this paragraph on page 17, F. Murray Abraham's a great actor, and when he played that role in Finding Forrester, oh God, he nailed it. But I mean, I never want to be that kind of literary critic, but I love good writing. I enjoy people that can use the written word, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass here. You have a singular talent for it.
Thank you.
There are only just, I shouldn't say a few people in the world. It's a gift to be able to take the written word and use it in such a concise, line of argument or a line of presentation that you can make someone walk from one place to another with words. And dude, God love you. Don't you ever
Oh,
quit.
thank you so much.
Don't you ever quit. You are too good at it.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you.
No, I'm telling you the truth, dude. I mean, you give me somebody that can write, and I'll sit there and read it all day long. I don't care if it's the phone book. If they know how to write the phone book and they can do it well and keep me interested, I'm there. I'm all over it. So yeah, you got the gift, dude.
Oh, you're the best. That really means a lot to me. Yeah, I'm working on doing more of it. I'm sort of like in the very, very, very beginning stages, but I've been plotting out my writing my first book, so I'm excited. I'm dying to tell people the title because I love the title I came up with, but I can't because I have a crazy obese fake doctor that, so I say the title, she'll go and copyright it before I have the chance to. So I'm keeping it secret until the trademarks go through.
Okay.
But I'm excited to be writing a book.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. That will be awesome to read.
Yeah, I finally because I had like a couple different book ideas for a while that I couldn't really figure out how to bring. So I feel like I finally cracked it.
Okay. Oh, now that gets okay. Now here we're gonna circle back around. Speaking of cracking it, okay. I've got
Whitney Houston.
Yeah, well, crack is whack. But,
Crack is whack.
Bless her heart, it didn't turn out as
well
for her.
Is cheap.
Yeah, cheap, plentiful, and apparently too much so in her case. Is that too soon? Or have we?
No, it's just true. Right. Poor Whitney.
Yeah. Oh, there's a girl. Okay. Tina Turner's passing.
Oh, I know. My dad worked with her too. They collaborated on some songs, so I've always heard about how amazing she was as a person. And yeah, that's really sad.
Just out of curiosity, when did he collaborate with her?
Oh, the 70s or something, about 80, I don't know.
Okay.
Back in the day.
That would have been the Private Dancer album, probably her comeback album. There's a lot of songs you can sit. I remember, and actually, when I heard she passed, the first thing I did was I went to YouTube and I found River Deep, Mountain High.
Oh my God!
It's one of those great Phil Spector songs, The Wall of Sound, and just her voice just soars on that song, and you can just hear it building, and it's like, God, Ike, you were a freaking idiot. I mean, I'm sorry that poor woman went through what she did, but thank God she got away from your miserable rear end and gave the world Tina.
She was awesome.
No, I know, absolutely. But no,
I came across a video not that long ago of Whitney Houston singing towards the end, and God, I'm like, don't do drugs, kids. It's a tragic. I mean, it should be a crime what she did to her voice through all her choices. Yeah. It's sad.
The national anthem.
Oh my God.
Bowl. Yeah.
You know what? Speaking of too soon, this is too late I know. However, Fergie singing the national anthem.
Oh, she
I don't know why. What?
No, I agree. She nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Fergie?
I thought so, unless I'm...
Do you remember? Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I believe I do.
It was like the worst one ever.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm honestly thinking of somebody else. No, wait, I'm thinking of Pink. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh, no, she's great.
Oh
my God, you have to see Fergie sing the national anthem. So for some reason, whenever I'm cleaning my house, I'll just walk around singing the national anthem as Fergie. And I know it's too late to do a video of it, but maybe she'll do it again someday and I can show the world my Fergie national anthem, because if I do say so myself, it's pretty spot on.
Well, and the thing we love about you, you're so modest too. Absolutely.
Not when it comes to cooking or my rendition of Fergie's national anthem. Those are the two things where I have no humility.
Okay. Yeah. We'll just.
I would literally gotten texts from neighbors or people who live upstairs. Did someone die?
Whoa!
Is there someone fighting? I heard screaming.
Okay,
I'm doing a bit.
So you weren't the first one on the karaoke machine at the content house whenever you guys were out running around the bars or anything.
No.
Okay, I can respect that.
I got screwed in the music gene pool because my whole family are musicians. But I mean, I play guitar and sing, but I'm not very good.
Now, am I commode hanging drunk, or do I remember at some point? I think it was you, maybe somewhere on a video said your dad was a composer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what any particular
Well,
genre
and
of music?
producer, writer, like he, I guess, did a bunch of stuff.
Okay, okay, and your mom was similar in that vein, or
She's a jazz singer. My grandfather was an Italian singer.
oh, see, that's one of the things on my to-do list if I ever come to New York City. I want to find some jazz clubs. I want to go somewhere where there's like some, oh, see, yeah, absolutely. I want to find some good jazz clubs. These are the kind of clubs you walk in, it's dark, you have these like burgundy colored, tablecloths are like, probably 50 years old and a candle in the center of the table and it's kind of a smoky room and up on this, little stage off center is like this 3 or 4 man band and they're just playing some old jazz and it's just like, oh God, I'm home. Thank you, Jesus. This is my
You got to come visit
place.
before I move.
Oh, okay, let's get into that. How does the escape from New York plan go for you, good sir?
Oh, hopefully, well, soon. Yeah, it's because I'm not just trying to I'm trying to move my family or
Sure.
I'm going to move my family with me, and like, it's not just that I've lived here my whole life. My parents have lived here. My dad was born in Brooklyn and has lived here most of his life. My mom has lived here most of her life, so it's way more complicated and way more expensive than I ever envisioned. But I'm currently waiting to find out if I have a new job that I'm hoping for. So hopefully that'll
Okay.
hopefully.
I won't
But yeah, my
pry, but
goal is to move by the end of the year at the latest. I'm hoping for
okay.
like fall-ish.
Are we
I
still
hope.
thinking the South? Or are we
Florida.
thinking, oh, we're going to become another New York refugee, go down to the Sunshine State?
I love it so much. And it's so funny, people keep telling me because I swear I'm like allergic to the cold. It is so miserable here. I never want to leave my house in the winter. So people keep telling me, "Oh, it's hot there." So I'm like, "Yes, bring it.
I was
Put me in
visiting.
an oven."
Yeah, I was
Like my
visiting.
dad's relatives. That was terrible.
I was. Oh,
That was awful.
had to go to the Auschwitz joke, didn't you? Had
I
to go
was
to the
right there. I had to grab it.
That's all right, dude. It's all good. No, I was visiting with my sister and my brother-in-law on Memorial Day, and we happened to be watching. It was around 6 o'clock. We're watching the news, and the weather report comes on, and in my neck of the woods, um, today, tomorrow, and probably into the weekend, the high is gonna be like 85, 90, somewhere in there. My brother-in-law turned to me and said, "Oh, your weather has arrived." I was like, "Yes."
Today was the first nice day here. Oh, I can't wait.
All right. What is a nice day in New York City weather-wise? What is that, like
Well,
70
like
degrees,
summer. There's
75?
only two seasons here. It's either hot as balls or cold as tits. It's one or the other. There's no fall or spring. It's either really cold or really hot.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to get my arms wrapped around the coldest tits. I've been around quite a few tits in my
Right.
life, and
I'm
I've never found them
assuming
to be
here.
cold. I'm sorry. Yeah, just say.
Bad assumption.
Okay,
You know what they say about assuming.
well, this is true. This is true. And also, far better to be like for us, far better to be smart asses than dumb asses. You know.
I'm both though, so.
Oh, you are not a dumbass. What the hell are you talking about?
But
No. So two
I-
seasons: hot as balls or cold as tits.
yeah, and the cold is miserable. It gets so cold here. But yeah, I just can't wait to be in Florida, and I have friends there, and I can't. I really have like no friends here anymore. All my friends have moved away, so I'm the last one standing, and I'm working on it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna make a documentary too that I'm gonna put out. So I have it out already, but I'm gonna start putting it out soon. How to escape a blue state. That'll sort of like follow to show people really not just what it takes to uproot your life and move, but also to show the reality of what has happened. Like I want to show clips from like these old movies, Ghostbusters and You've Got Mail. This is where I grew up. This is what it looks like now. And and then be able to film in Florida when I get there and show. And this is what beautiful free red state is like.
Oh, I know. And okay, so now here's where I've learned that, at moments like this, it's a good opportunity to grift. Not that we're going to end this interview, but since we are on the subject of you getting to Florida, Michael, are there anything that people can do to help contribute to your efforts to get to Florida? Are there places where they could give donations if the opportunity were to arise? Please enlighten us.
If you feel
I just teed you up, big boy. Go for it.
If you feel so inclined, you can go to givesendgo.com/escape from New York. New York spelled out, not NY, New York. Or subscribe to my locals, my Patreon. We do fun things. We do game nights. We do movie nights, Zoom hangouts. We're a fun group. Support my stuff because I'm working on doing a lot more of it.
Okay, well, now, by all means, before this night is over, leave me links in the private chat. I'll post them in the video. We want to make sure we can help you in any way we can here. Our audience is small, but we are a loving, happy bunch. If we can help you out, brother, we will. And Robert, you have grift the escape. There you go. There you go. So, Mike, I know that your people are cool, but I've often said I've got the daggone smartest audience on the internet, and you know what? They never fail me. We may be small, but boy, these folks are good.
So is mine, but we're quality over quantity.
There you go. There you go. Now here's where and you have your own way of doing it. Here's where I do my poor man's broadcaster impersonation. For those of you who are just joining this live stream, we're talking with Mike Harlow, influencer, writer, and just all around.
Oh, I'm a non-influencer. Who the fuck am I influencing?
What is your aversion to that term?
Who the fuck am I influencing? My dad. I try to influence my dad. He still wears Crocs. Still has an AOL account. Still, I found out my friggin' father. I just found out recently that he has been paying monthly for AOL for the last 30 years.
Bless his heart.
Who am I influencing?
Well, okay, well, all right. Maybe Cody's got the right. All right, let's just call it influencer. All right, writer, outfluencer. All right, fine. We'll just go with that. Oh, now, wait a minute, Cody. I got a feeling that you and Mike are going to fight about this.
He's trolling me.
I'm not trying to stir it, but I just got a feeling here. I'm just saying,
I'm not buying it, Cody.
Oh, bless his heart. I
know. And then somebody calls me an influencer. I'm like, if you only knew. He watches CNN. That's my influence.
Oh, merciful God in heaven.
I know.
I know. So
that's why I'm moving them close to me so I can keep an eye on my parents' media consumption.
I want your opinion about something since you bring up the CNN. And feel free to disagree with this take, but I really want to get your opinion on this because you're in social media all over the place, and me, I just kind of dabble. Well, I utilitarianly dabble. I dabble in such a way that's useful to me and makes my channel do whatever. But you're all over the place. God love you. You're like Mr. Multimedia. Are we at a point, and I'd love to get Feliciano's take on this too, are we at a point where...
I gotta have you both... Oh, you guys... That'd be a great trio. You gotta come on my channel, you, me, and Pete.
Well, have your people talk to my people, and we'll work something out. Okay.
Because people have these delusional ideas of me that I think are great. They make me sound so much cooler than I really am.
I'm
fucking at home watching the Muppet Show in my jammies most nights. They think I'm got all this shit going on. But somebody was like, "Oh, Mike is a liar. He just writes whatever his handlers tell him to say." I was wait. I have handlers.
You have handlers?
I have not been handled in a long time, let me tell you.
That's not what I heard, but anyway.
Handlers, come find me.
He'll give out his phone number later, folks. That's just, he's I don't even know if I want to dive into that water because that's like, I don't know.
Sorry, I cut you off though.
No, dude. I told you before we ever got started with this. You can say whatever you want to on my front porch. I don't care, dude. I mean, here's what I envision. And then I'll get to my question. This is what I envision for this little space of the internet. Okay, imagine walking. All right, brownstones in New York. So you're going to understand this when I say it. You walk up on a brownstone. You sit down on the steps. You're talking with a friend of yours. Maybe you two are drinking a cup of coffee or drinking a Coca-Cola or whatever. And you're sitting there and you're just shooting the shit. Okay? It's a place where you can go and just talk to somebody and you don't have to worry about it. In my case, being in what I call the South, although being from West Virginia, I'm geographically schizophrenic, which I'll explain later sometime. You walk up on my front porch, you pull up a chair. If you've got something in your hand, you're drinking it. If you don't have something to drink, I'm going to offer it to you. Yeah. And we sit there and we just shoot the shit. And I don't care what you say. If I don't agree with you, that's fine. You don't have to agree with me. But you can say it, you know.
Yes.
Now,
I'm the same way.
CNN. Are we at a point, because of social media and all the different platforms, and I'm not saying they're perfect, so just go with me here. But are we at a point where journalism, as it's been generally understood, CNN, ABC, the three networks, everybody, journalism, I can argue, has been dying. But are we at a point, for various reasons, that citizen journalism, be it what we're doing here, or what Carrie does on her channel with the program, or what Chrissy does, or whoever, are we at the point where we're ready for a break, a different... I don't quite even know what I'm looking for here, but we're moving in a different direction where journalism, as has been traditionally understood, is just going to die off. And what people like us do here, this is the new journalism.
I hope so. I don't think we're at that point yet, but we're closer to it than we've been before. Because
Okay.
it's not just, you know, CNN or MSNBC, their viewers are very, very, very small. But it's not about their viewers. It's about the influence that they all have when all of these media outlets are all on the same page, all pushing the same narrative, all spouting verbatim the same things. To them, reality is basically a choose your own adventure, and they can sort of dictate what reality is. So yeah. I think more people are realizing that. I think probably the best thing Trump ever did was expose the depths of how dishonest and corrupt the media is. So I think a lot more people are aware of that now than they ever were. But there's still a lot of people who believe anything, you know?
Well, and that's going to be something that's going to be generational to overcome. But the thing that, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with Nick Rekieta, Pope Rackets. One of if you've ever watched one of his Friday night streams, he calls himself the king of tomfoolery. Oh,
we've been planning for me to go on it or him to come on. I gotta.
Oh God, you let me know when you make it a point to tell me when you're going to go on that stream, because I'll be like, I'm staying up for that shit. We got to see this, because between you and Camelot and Rekieta, that's just going to be pricelessly hilarious.
I should have them on. That would be a good trio too. Damn, you're giving me great ideas. You know what's funny? I've had a few horrible shows in a row. The last few were really bad, so I appreciate you giving me like good ideas for new ones, because I got to come back strong.
Oh, dude! I mean, if you, and I'm not saying this to blow smoke up your rear end, if you ever need to like bounce something, it's like, dude, help me out here. The desert is barren here. I got nothing. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? Throw me something. I'll throw it back at you. We'll play around with it. You know, I have no problem at all with, you know, the one thing that I'm discovering, at least for myself personally, I've never really considered myself a terribly creative person, but I found that no, it's true. I really have. I like to write, but writing for me is a chore because I'm one of those neurotic perfectionists.
Same. That's why I don't put more stuff out.
Oh, I'm with you. Because to me, it's like, I've got a chisel in one hand, I have a hammer in the other. That's what writing is like to me. It's like oh no, crap! Now the rock broke. It's like, yeah.
I'll spend a couple hours and it'll just flow out. I'll get everything, and then I'll spend a month fixating on a paragraph, individual words, like the last sentence.
I wrote a Christmas letter to a friend of mine that I sent a gift to, and I cranked out the letter in maybe an hour, and then I spent 2 weeks editing the damn thing. So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, because you're just sitting there going, yeah, but if I reverse this, oh, I need to take that out. Oh God, this paragraph sucks. So yeah, I absolutely get it. I get it. But getting back, it's going to take generations, and I also think a lot of eye-opening experience to get some people off that perch where they are ideologically. But Rekieta brings up this point. If ever there was a time for content creators to step forward and offer something that no one else is currently doing right now, this is it. The technology is there to make it happen. Now, how we go about cultivating and building that audience and everything else, that's a whole other question. But now is the time for people like yourself, myself, Carrie, Chrissy, Camelot, whomever, Peter Feliciano, Dangerous Rhetoric, everybody. Now's the time to say, hey, have you come over here? Let's sit down and talk. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about. Let me show you something. And just let people be like, I don't agree with you. Fine, you don't have to. But here's something that you may not have thought about. And here's a platform on which I'm doing it. You know.
Yeah,
I think it's an amazing era.
For me, I feel like in terms of just politics, it was a lot more fun years ago when it didn't feel like you were so deeply affected by. I mean, you were in terms of the censorship and the cultural stuff. You're still affected by it, but not like this. Not like being segregated for not getting an injection of experimental poison and being put out of work, losing everything, not being able to go anywhere. Not to the extent of going to the grocery store and buying 3-4 items and spending $50. Like, it was a lot more fun. And so I think 2020 was amazing for me. I was traveling the whole country. I was fucking flying high, and then it all came crashing down. Like, I came back within months, segregated, put out of work, can't go anywhere, can't do anything. And it wasn't just that at face value. It was that to this day, I can't believe that that's a thing that happened. You look at these compilations of the things that people were saying on TV. It sounds like Nazi Germany. It sounds like things you would read about in a history book. And the way that I know it already is, and I know will continue to be swept under the rug, is insane to me. How many people who are allegedly on the right or allegedly conservatives have said to me on Twitter, just get over it. Just forget about it. Not on your fucking life.
No.
Because it will happen again. I'm very, I guess, I would love to be proven wrong about that. I would love nothing more than to be wrong about this. But I genuinely believe that 90% of people are okay with anything. There's nothing they won't comply with. There's nothing they will stand up for. Especially people on the right, I think, unfortunately. Again, I wish I were wrong. That people are just okay with this. It blows my mind that there were not mass protests, that there were not... We allowed segregation to happen in the 21st century. And people were fine with it. The vast majority complied. You know, they talk about systemic racism. When they instituted the vaccine mandates in New York, it was something like 75% of Black New Yorkers were unvaccinated. And we had been told by them that systemic racism is any policy that disproportionately impacts Black people. So you disproportionately segregated Black people. And no one cares. No one cares. You don't hear, oh, systemic racism, white supremacy. You don't hear anything.
Yeah.
So that was a very roundabout way of saying that I got very, very, very depressed with doing this and not wanting to. So I think since then, what I've kind of tried to do is find some sort of in-between of culture and politics, and also just making people fucking laugh and hopefully being, you know, able to make people feel good and uplifted in this miserable fucking time period that we're living in.
Yeah, in that regard.
Not to bum everyone out.
No, dude, we're about telling the truth here. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. In that respect, we are living through. I heard one lawyer best describe it. The Trump presidency, and I'm not talking about Trump in general, just not, the Trump presidency was a new hope. We are now living through the era of the Empire Strikes Back with the potential for the Return of the Jedi. And I thought, you know what? Very nerdy, but
I feel
not
like
too bad of an analogy.
it is. I agree. I think the potential to like move on to a new franchise, because I think we've already jumped the shark to like the prequels and the Disney sequels with Trump.
Oh yeah, I can and we'll disagree. And, okay, we're not going to get into it because we're not going to get into politics. We're
We
going to
can.
disagree on that question, and I say that with the caveat. Believe me, he is extraordinarily flawed. And there's just no getting around that. Narcissistic tendencies and an ego the size of Texas, you know. But yeah, but it's an interesting era to live in that we have affluence and scarcity. We have freedom and the absence thereof. And you brought up a really good point. You never thought that the American people would tolerate what was done to them in 2020. I agree with you.
No.
And that gets to something else. I think for a lot of people, particularly, in this space or this community, however you want to define it, whatever, people got their perception of freedom rocked right down to the core, and they had to figure out real fast which side of that fence am I on? Because, I got some people over here that are acting like a bunch of fascists, and I got people over here that believe in freedom. Which side do I want to stand on? And you found out real quick. There's a great line about people from the Revolutionary War. Said 1/3 supported the British, 1/3 wanted independence, and 1/3 didn't give a damn. Well, I'd argue that 1/3 that didn't give a damn has gotten bigger over time. They will do whatever they got to do to maintain their status of comfort in life. And to a certain extent, I'm that way. As a general rule of thumb, I do not like conflict. If all things being equal, I would as soon sit on my front porch, listen to some jazz music, have a beverage, maybe smoke a very nice cigar, and just enjoy my life and sit back in my chair and go, ah. But it's reached the point I can't do that anymore. I mean, I'm not talking about going out in the street and taking up arms, and I'm not talking about violence or anything like that. But voices have got to rise up in their own way, in their own form, in their own fashion to say, no, this is not right. This is not correct.
And it sucked too, when all that was happening in New York, I would go to any demonstration they had or whatever, and a huge showing for one of them would maybe be 1,000 people. It was sickening. I still can't believe it's a thing that we allowed to happen, and we allowed it to happen. There was every opportunity in the world for people to really say, this is what we need to plant our flag down. And if there were ever a time for people to say, we're going to go on strike, we're not going to show up to work, we're not going to drive your trucks, we're not going to do any of this. And it couldn't have continued. It couldn't have happened. Without half the country, you don't have a country. If every person who was against it would have just taken a stand, it would have been done with in a weekend.
Hang on. Okay, there you are again. Sorry, I was going for the wrong button. Yeah, it just, when I saw the Canadian truckers doing what they were doing, I was like 20, 21.
We're getting outballsed by Canada.
Oh, now that's a depressing thought.
I know.
No,
see, like you said, you don't like. So when I started doing this, I was like very reasonable. I have some of my early videos sound like it was by a liberal. Like I was so reasonable, so wanting to build bridges with leftists, wanting to get along. It did not matter. They hated me every bit as much as when I told them to fuck off. So whatever ounce of that kindness and whatever that I had is gone. Somebody said to me today, no, with everything, I mean, I've watched one of my best friends, he held a political prisoner because he stood outside of a building for 7 minutes. Yeah. I've seen we've normalized butchering kids and brainwashing kids. All of these things that have happened, which are insane. The government raiding churches and closing businesses. No, screw you. I don't think this is a time for, if people, it's funny too, because by the way, so I posted, it was from a year ago. I didn't expect anyone would watch it. I posted this little clip of me putting this like straight ally in his place and just sort of snapping back at him. But like a lot of people have watched it in the last day. And I've gotten at least a dozen different comments from, again, people who are allegedly on the right saying I'm too mean, this is thug behavior, just because I was speaking very directly. This is thug behavior. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, if you think I'm too tough, wait till you fucking meet Antifa. If I'm too tough for some of these people.
Yeah. Oh,
I forgot what my point was, but...
Oh, that's all right. That's the beauty of this kind of a conversation between you and me. We'll circle back around to it at some point here.
What I was going to say, though, is like, again, one of these people allegedly on the right was like, what about the golden rule? The golden rule? After everything these motherfuckers have done to us, fuck your golden rule. And I said, I'm adding an addendum to the golden rule. You can call this Mikey's rule. Treat others as you wish to be treated. And when you are denied that respect in return, burn their house down and shoot them as they run out. Metaphorically, of course.
Hey, it was Jesus who gave the golden rule. It was also Jesus who ran the money changers out of the temple with a whip. So,
ooh, I like that. Well, this is a time for whips. This is a time for strength. It is a time to stand up and tell these people to go fuck themselves. Because they had no problem saying that to us. They had no problem saying over and over again every day for 2 years, fuck your freedom.
Oh, I know.
So fuck your kindness.
Yeah.
Your kindness. And kindness is the last word these people should be using.
Well, it's like that old, the members of my family and I have a, personal motto. We'll forgive it, but we will never forget it.
I don't do either. Some people forgive and forget. I don't forgive. I don't forget.
Yeah. It's like, what cracks me up now are all these people coming forward saying, I made a mistake about what, oh, you sure, oh, welcome to the party, pal. Glad you finally showed up and realized you effed this one up. It's like, really? You got on the wrong side of this argument. You made half of the country feel like they were evil, under your boot dirt, and now you're coming to realize, oh, I may have made a mistake. No shit, Sherlock.
People don't get it. I think what happened was so profoundly traumatic and so profoundly devastating to the future that people haven't even begun to comprehend the significance of children growing up, masks on their faces, muzzles on their faces for 2 years, being taught to obey the state, watching their parents bend over for the state, being told you can't go here, you can't go outside, you stay in your house, you can't have a business, can't go to church, can't die alone, can't go to a funeral, unless you're George Floyd, of course. People haven't even begun to comprehend the significance of that and what that will mean for the future. And it will happen again. It will happen again. This was the trial run for communism. And I guarantee, and again, I want to be wrong. I guarantee you it could happen again tomorrow. Same 90% will comply maybe it would be 89% this time instead of 90. Maybe 1% woke up. But so I don't know what it is going to take. And I don't even want to say the right or conservatives or Republicans. It's not about that. It is about the most basic liberties. I don't know what it's going to take to wake them up, but I'm certainly not going to shut up.
And you just hit on something that, I had my eyes open to, because I grew up as a teenager in the 1980s. Yeah, I want to clip that part out.
No, I'm so jealous. Best time in human history.
Oh, let me tell you, the music, dude, was just rocking.
The 80s and 90s were just, I feel so, I've been thinking, sorry, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead, dude.
I've been rewatching my favorite show from when I was a little kid. Have you ever heard of Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's probably what made me love horror.
I think I've heard of it.
I've been rewatching it, and it just makes me think of like how the 90s were just like a giant hug. Like things were so amazing, and we had no clue how good we had it.
There is something that I will still talking about my childhood. It still goes on in Great Britain. It's called the Prince's Trust Concert. It's a fundraiser for a trust fund that the royal family disperses, I guess, to charities or whatever. And they would always have a concert. Now picture this lineup on the same stage: Phil Collins on drums, Sting on vocals, Eric Clapton on guitar, Elton John on piano, Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits on another electric guitar.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you had all these musicians, and then here comes Tina Turner just strutting the best set of legs in rock and roll out on the stage, and here comes Bryan Adams from the other side, and then Paul McCartney comes up the middle, and they're all three at a microphone together singing something, and I'm like, oh, this was an era.
It just shows what a better time it was too. And I mean, people talk about race. It was. I think the golden age of race relations was the late '90s, early 2000s, sort of the period between OJ and Obama. That period in the middle, everyone got along. I think.
Yeah.
Not that there was no racism, but like back then, somebody like Tina Turner, somebody like Oprah, people like that, you wouldn't hear, oh, the black woman. Like, we just didn't think of each other like that all the time. Sure, some people did, but it wasn't such a thing.
Yeah. And it looks like you have a vote for the revamping of the Golden Rule, my friend.
Thank you, my love.
But yeah, it was a great era. But now let me ask you something. You just hit on, because okay, now I remember where I was going. That's one of the blessings and the problems with having a conversation with you, because my brain could go all over the place.
Sorry, I'm like...
No, dude. You don't understand. This gets my juices going in so many different ways. So yes, you are a blessing to me in this conversation right now. Steady, boy, steady. I saw that shit.
No, I'm so ADD. My brain feels like I have 10 radios playing at the same time, and they're all tuned to different channels.
I can relate to where we're going. But you brought up something like it's no longer an issue of Republican or Democrat or conservative. I agree with you. The old constructs...
But both Republican, I say.
Yeah. The old constructs that I grew up with are gone. To me, it's just this simple. It's freedom, authoritarianism. That's where we're at. And I mean, the argument about, well, both sides agree in principle. They just disagree on how to get there. Oh, no, we're past that point. No, we're way past that point. We got Marxist,
we were
fascist,
past that,
communist...
people dying alone, having their churches raided. No.
Yeah, we got Marxist, communist on one side and everybody else on the other.
Exactly, and that's really what it is. It is. Yeah. I don't consider myself a conservative. It's not about that. It is about radical leftist communists versus the rest of us, which is why the rest of us have to band together. And it just goes to show the absolute ineptitude and stupidity of the right in this country, that they've just imploded over the last year or two. Everyone hates everyone. Everyone's fighting with their... I don't know if Cody's still watching, but he was bringing this up today. Everyone hates everyone. Everyone's fighting with everyone. You never hear this shit with the left. They do what they're told. They get on the same page. They get their shit together. Ours, we're squabbling about... Now people want to talk about, gay marriage. They want to talk about a settled issue from 10, 15 years ago. Who gives a shit? We have people locking you in your house, force injecting you, and you are worrying about fucking gay marriage? It's insane. But the point is, everybody, not everybody, but there is a large section of people on the right now who want everyone on the right to think exactly like them.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
I totally agree with that.
It should be a coalition of different people who can come together and vote one way and say, we are against this, and we will figure the rest out later. Yeah. It's insane to me. But it's like they don't want to have a coalition. They think that they can just do without everyone.
What you're
write off gay people, write off black people, write off more moderate people, write off everyone, and now you have the left controlling everything. It's insane to me.
What you're wanting is what the founding fathers understood, and let me explain my point that I'm getting to.
Ooh.
See,
dude. I told you, people make me sound way cooler than I am. Like, I don't deserve to be anyone.
Oh, shut up! Don't make me kick your ass. Okay, Adams, Jefferson, Franklin. The founding fathers understood that slavery was something that inevitably we're going to have to deal with. There's no way the nation could go on the way it was. But they also recognized a reality. It's not our time to deal with it. Let's do what we've got to do right now. Let's start, I think it was Franklin who said the phrase, let's start a nation against greater odds than a more generous God would ever allow. And we're going to have to let somebody else figure it out after us. That's where, I think that's where you're at. That's what we're wanting. I may not agree with you on everything. You may not agree with me on everything. You know, but we agree enough that we're like, okay, we want freedom.
Yes. Do you want to be under the thumb of daddy government and daddy corporation? No? Great.
Exactly. The other stuff we can figure out down the line. But by God, let's preserve the freedom that we've got left, and let's expand the freedom that we used to have and take it back. You know,
it's crazy too, because I think up until before, you know, the lockdowns and the mandates and all of that, I don't think I ever, and you know, this isn't a good thing. It shows my own ignorance, but I don't think I had ever even really considered freedom as a general concept. You'd thought about individual freedoms, freedom of speech, things like that, but I had never thought about just basic freedom because you never had to.
Exactly. Oh, I totally agree with that.
Thank you.
You know.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Kilted Coachman. This is why I've got this dude on this stream tonight, because it's moments like this in this time that we've got when he turns it loose and he lays down a lot of truth. So, you know. But
I honestly think that a lot of people, maybe they're, and let me just say first of all, if people think that they're safe in their red states, boy, have you got another thing coming. Places like New York are one, maybe sometimes two steps ahead of where y'all are going next. So look at the blue states. That's what's coming to the red states very shortly. I hear from people who are in places like Alabama, the most outrageous things of their kids being indoctrinated, those horrible things in the most conservative states you can possibly think of. This is a problem that we all have to face, but I think some people maybe are shielded in red states and they maybe like don't realize just how bad things are and that the country is hanging by a thread. Sorry, not to like bum everyone out, but
no, you're absolutely right.
I was like, I want to uplift people. The country is hanging by a thread, by the way.
Yes. What was Jonathan Edwards' old line? Hanging by a thread like a spider over the flames of hell, I believe is how he put it. Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Amazing sermon to read. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it to you. And the historical irony of that is, people think, oh, he was a very fiery preacher from the pulpit. No, he's a monotone. Dead monotone. But every time he preached that sermon, it just spread like wildfire throughout the colonies. But anyway, you mentioned something else, kids. And I want to get your take on this because... And I sent you something in private chat to read later on. It's a piece by Victor Davis Hanson. It just came out today on Real Clear Politics. So just at your leisure, just take a look at it. Because Hanson is a number of things. A historian, a classicist, but he's also somebody that watches trends. He's definitely looking out on society and saying, this is interesting, this is not interesting. But he's brought up something, and I think it's one of those fascinating phenomenons right now. Because I'm 51 years old, and I've never seen this happen in my lifetime. And it started with the most innocuous of things over something so innocuous you wouldn't think Americans would get pissed off about this. Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney. Okay, I remember back when I was a teenager in the 80s, like pop culture figures, Madonna, the Like a Prayer album comes out, and I don't know if you remember that video, but at the time, it was like scandalous. I mean, you had conservative family groups who were like, we're going to boycott Pepsi because they're sponsoring. Well, okay, they talk about
artists would actually challenge boundaries.
Exactly. And, they'd say, we're going to boycott. Well, it would never go anywhere. And I've seen boycott this, boycott that for years. Never took off. It never had legs. I personally have never seen something like what's going on with Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch and just the absolute, basically grabbing, the American people are grabbing Anheuser-Busch by the financial balls, squeezing for all they're worth, and they're not doing it for fun, by the way. Steady, boy, steady.
This is getting titillating.
Well, we're always here to try and serve every pleasure possible. Anyway, but they're basically grabbing them by the balls, and they're like, I mean, they're absolutely bleeding blood. I mean, every week is going by, they're losing money, and it's not just them. Here's my question to you, broadly culturally speaking. Have we sort of reached the point, and this has more to do with kids than anything else, and I think you'll probably agree with me. Have we reached the point where something finally triggered a lot of people in America to do that great line, I want you to go to your window, open it, stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore? Have we reached that point?
I think we're close to it. I think, yeah, I think what's happening is so indefensible, even for liberals, that this is why they try and say, their favorite line when you confront them with surgeries or hormones that are being given to children, their favorite line is, that's not happening. That doesn't happen. And then you show them a litany of ways that it is happening. And then they usually switch to, well, it's happening, but it's a good thing. But a lot of times they don't. A lot of times they can't defend it because there is no defense for it. So I think we have to keep putting pressure on individual people and make them look at it, make them look it right in the eye and look at the consequences of this and look at what's happening. It's crazy. I can't believe, though, that this is even something we have to talk about. Oh, and in terms of Bud Light, I just think I feel a little bit split on it because on the one hand, I'm very glad it's happening. I support it. But on the other hand, especially after all the things we just talked about that were so consequential,
yeah,
this is the stand you're going to take.
Yeah,
it's the most innocuous of all of the things that have ever happened. All the things, the crazy things that leftist companies have pushed, tampons for men, all the things. This is what they lose. I don't think they even sold it. I think they just sent it to him, which I support it. There's nothing against it, but I just think our priorities are a bit backwards. On the flip side of that, let me tell you why I very much support it, because it's about making an example out of them. So I'm very glad that it's happening because it's not just that they're bleeding money from conservatives. They're now getting lambasted by the alphabet people, by their group.
I've seen this.
I think that's amazing because I think it sends an important message to these companies. Stay out of this. Mind your own damn business. Stay out. You're going to get it from both sides. Just stay out of it. When we want you for politics, we'll call on you. Stay out of it. Yep. We don't need you involved in any of this. Sell your products. Sell your beer. Be a company. That's it. You don't need to get political. You don't need to take stands on divisive issues. Yeah, so hopefully them getting it from left and right will send the message to just stay the fuck out. I don't need your support and I don't need anything. Just stay out of it.
Yeah, and I've said this in videos. I've said this in other places. I mean, call me crazy, but the traditions that I grew up in, a business is there to do two things above all else. One, make a product that people want to buy. And two, no lying, no cheating, no stealing, make a profit doing it. Everything else, while it may be important, is an ancillary issue. You're there to produce a product and make a profit doing it and be lawful in doing so. If you've got people in your organization or your business that feel strongly about certain social issues, cool. We, the business, are staying out of it.
Yes.
And, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, there's nothing anymore that's apolitical. There's nothing. There's no escape from. That's the thing, is we were talking about the 90s and in the past, you didn't have to care about politics. There wasn't politics and everything. You go to a movie, you could watch a show, you could buy a beer, and there were no politics. Now everything is fucking political. It's the beer you drink. It's the bathroom you go to. It's the sports you watch. It's everything. So I think it is really important to put a stop to that and get these companies to just stay the hell out of it. And this is why I say we need to elect not just Republicans, but the correct Republicans, is because it's also going to take legislation, because these things are now becoming codified in law with their ESG scores that they need to have by law. Certain DEI programs, that shit needs to go. So, but I think that this is a good step one. I just really wish conservatives brought this energy to other things as well.
Well, and that's a point that Victor Davis Hanson makes in his article. And he's like, because conservatives by their very nature, and I agree with him on this because I am one of them. We want to preserve an institution as it exists, maybe play around with it at the edges if it needs adjustments. But, by and large, I say we, don't want to go, tearing things down or anything else. The left, on the other hand, has no problem tearing anything down and reconstitute it to make it do what they need it to do to put their vision of what society should be forward.
You know what it reminds me of, if I can make an analogy?
Please do.
Have you ever
Good
watched
sir.
Survivor?
Off and on, yeah.
So the first season of Survivor, there are 2 teams, right?
Okay.
One of the teams figured out the game very quickly. We need to vote together. We need to make an alliance. The other said, no, we're not going to make alliance. Nobody will make alliances here. No one will vote together. We'll just love each other. So they, of course, get voted off one by one. So each week, a person from that team would get voted off. The next week, a person from that team would get voted off. And every single time they would say, well, if it happens again, we'll know that they have an alliance and they're voting together. And then same thing would happen the next week, and they would say, well, if it happens one more time, we'll know that they're with each other. And by the point that there was one person left from that team, she was like, maybe they were in an alliance the whole time. That is conservatives in America. The left is consolidating power, taking over everything, and they're sitting here squabbling over ridiculous things, worrying about, oh, well, we shouldn't do this, and we can't do this, and don't rock the boat. By the time they wake up and realize what's what, there will be no country left.
Well, okay, 2 things. One, have you ever noticed that conservatives love to, and you've been talking about this all night, and I think this is a perfect point, conservatives love to bitch at each other. They really do. They would rather bitch at each other as they would unify and take down their common enemy. No. And, you're saying about, we're not going to have a country left. It reminds me that, I think it was a German pastor during the era of World War II. They came for the communists. I didn't say anything. It wasn't the communists. They came for the trade unionists. I didn't say anything. And he goes through this whole list of people and says, then they came for me, and there was no one left to say anything.
They ain't just coming for you. They're coming for your kids.
Oh, yeah.
They openly admit that.
Yeah, and that's what makes moving on from Bud Light, Target. When Chrissy dropped that tweet, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, the LGBT stuff during Pride Month, okay, this you kind of expect. But when you're doing this, like tuck-friendly swimwear, and
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh, did you see Alex Stein's video?
I'm a lot more, I feel like I'm a little bit more, what's the word? Spicy or fire, not spicy. I don't know. I'm a little more fiery than some of these people because I've seen a lot of these like gay conservatives going, well, now there's nothing wrong with the pride stuff for kids. And well, I don't agree with this, but I do agree with that. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Until this cult, and that is why, and that is what it is. I can run down every symptom of a cult. It describes them to the T. Until this cult decides that they will stop indoctrinating children, stop mutilating children, stop brainwashing people, I take a hardline stance on all of it. No rainbows. Until you can be trusted, no rainbows. And all they are doing is brainwashing, indoctrinating, mutilating. I don't want to see any of it for kids.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with being gay. That's what people need to understand. It has nothing to do with being gay. It has nothing to do with being lesbian. It has nothing to do with being transsexual. This is a cult. It is a political, ideological cult. It has absolutely nothing to do with gay people. You're not supporting gay people by putting rainbows and pride on your child. It has nothing to do with us. We want no part of it. This is a cult that you need to keep your kids out of, that you need to educate them and alert them and warn them of the pressure that they will face. And you need to alert them to this cult that looks to capture their mind, body, and soul the same way you would alert them of somebody saying, hey, get in the van, I've got candy. Because that is what they are doing.
Wow. So true.
Sorry to rant.
No, brother.
It just infuriates me.
Mike, you can rant as much as you want. You can... whatever. I told you, dude, you got the floor, run with it, go. I mean, and that's just it. I mean, I'm not married, I don't have children. I'm sitting here scared to death.
Find you someone.
Do what?
We're gonna find you someone.
Oh,
he's out there.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, and I'll set you guys up.
Okay.
I'll vet through them.
It's like, Yeah, I can just see now, like, no, Brian, no, not this one. But she's
Your friends
no,
always
Brian,
know,
no, don't just no. But no,
and I would be right.
and you'd be right. I get pissed off with you, and then I come back 2 weeks later and go, you were right, I
Yeah,
was wrong, and I'm an asshole. Thank you very
I
much.
do that too.
But it just, I mean, I am scared to death. My sister had 2 sons. They're now married. They have children of their own. I am scared to death for my nephew's children because it's like, and I'm, these are conversations that, we don't necessarily talk about in my family. And I'm not saying we're right or wrong for doing it. But, I'm sitting here going, are my nephews and their wives aware of what's going on and what's out there? Because, I mean, in my little corner of the world, I jokingly say I live in, the West Virginia version of the Shire. You wouldn't think these kind of things, would something you need to be worried
Everywhere.
about. On the other hand,
It's in
it's
Alabama.
everywhere.
I literally
It's
got a
everywhere.
message the other day from this mom in Alabama, and this is happening. I promise you, if it's happening in Alabama, it's happening everywhere.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And I personally think, look, what do I know? I don't have kids. I'm not married, but I'm right. So listen to me. That it is not enough to think that you can just, if you have kids, that you can just shield them from this. Yes, I am determined to. I'm determined to do that. First of all, okay. So I'm like thinking about how I could go about it, but like I want to do like a whole thing of that. I want to do that with Brandon and have the branchular. But I just think about like how to pull it off. Like how would I find the people and they have to be in the same city and like yeah, I want to have like a whole dating game on my channel.
That's hysterical. That is hysterical. I mean, I've heard Chrissy Maris say, I need to start fixing some of my friends up, and I'm like, oh god, that's gonna be really interesting.
She is like very good at inadvertently setting people up. Like I always end up having, like meeting someone or something when I'm around her.
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah, it just, I had, I mentioned very early on tonight that the very first people I had on here were Daniel and Brentley, and we got into the subject of transgenderism and kids, and I mean, I'm blown away that it's past the point of, okay, as an adult person, anyone can choose to do whatever they want to do. Do I think you should do it? No. But why are we pushing this on kids? Or let me rephrase that. Why is the transgender movement no, let me back that up because I'm being unkind. I'm being unkind. Why are, I will call it radical transgenders, trying to push this on kids and, oh, yeah, you're 12 years old? Absolutely, let's cut off your breasts. Oh, you're 13, you don't like the fact you have a penis?
I like that you made that. I really feel for, because I've always felt the exact same way when it comes to, and I'm trying, because they came up with this term transgender very recently, so I've been a lot of transsexuals are sort of taking that term, so I'm like, you're right, because I think there needs to be a distinction between actual transsexual people and these transgenders. But I really feel for them that they just want to live their lives in whatever way makes them happiest. And I support that. And there's so much animosity towards them now, towards people who never asked for this, don't agree with it, don't want it, speak out against it. And it's nobody's business. They're adult. And we all understand, and I agree that in terms of like societal conversations, you have people just trying to rip up reality. So it is important to state biology and differences that, yes, there are differences. It's just not a difference I care about. In the same way, if I have a friend with blonde hair and she dyed her hair, she's not a natural blonde, I say, this is my blonde friend. I don't give a shit what your birth hair, I just don't care. So I just feel bad that they're like taking the brunt of all of this. And I think there's going to be a lot more of them speaking out because, I saw a tweet today from Eddie Izzard writing, and he wrote, just so everyone knows, I've added another name for myself. My name is also Susie now. So he goes, so you can call me Eddie or you can call me Susie, and you can call me he or you can call me she. I don't know. And I was just thinking, what a slap in the face to transsexuals, because people who are transsexual who have suffered through gender dysphoria, it's a dilapidating condition. It's something they struggle with. It's something that's very painful for a lot of them. And you're coming in here acting like you're the same, just saying, oh, maybe I'm he, maybe I'm she, I don't know. Screw you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And you just brought up and again, this is one of those moments why I'm so glad you're here tonight, because you just swerve into things I really want to talk about. Words. You're a writer, I'm a writer. Let me ask you, and stop me where I'm wrong. Feel free to disagree with me. Is it just me, or does the left, broadly speaking, here's a, hang on, I gotta get my camera right here. Here's a word. Here's its understood definition as has been accepted for decades or centuries. Here comes the left, decouples definition from word, takes definition, scrambles it around, reconstitutes it, recouples it to its word, and now the word means something nobody ever intended it to mean. Therefore, we now have an open door or an open window to shove through something that, we want to get done.
Because they're dictating the rules of reality.
Yeah.
They're trying to replace reality with ideology. They're trying to replace instinct with ideology. They're trying to say, for the longest time, I feel like I wrote an article about it a couple months ago that I feel like I finally found the right words for it. But for a long time, I really couldn't figure out why I was so bothered by drag shows for kids. I'm not talking about when they're, naked I'm just talking in general.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, it just feels so wrong. It just feels like such a violation. And I couldn't figure out why that was. And eventually I realized, wait, that's instinct. We have instincts as a form of self-defense, as a form of defense of others, to protect ourselves and other people from things that are bad for us. They are trying to get us to overwrite these things. They want us to replace instinct with ideology and just overwrite every instinct we have that this is wrong.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And replace that with whatever they say that day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just, I've had this conversation with I can't tell you how many people. In the traditions that I grew up in, the words and their definitions define the parameters of the argument. And I'm not talking about yelling and screaming like, okay, here's the proposition, here's where I stand, here's where you stand, here are the words that we use to put forward our idea, and here are the meanings of the words that back them up. Let's have at it.
Yeah.
And the way I liken to arguing with someone on the left anymore, it's like getting a hold of a greased pig. Just as soon as you've got your arms around them, boom, out the back of your arm it goes, because words mean nothing to them. They're not definable truths. They are constructs to be assembled in a manner that moves my argument forward, and the hell with reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just frustrating as hell.
Yeah, and you asked why the focus on that. It's because I think it's a very effective way to bring kids in and capture them into an entire ideology. Because think about it. I'm a gay man. I'm not LGBTQ. I'm not queer by any means. I'm none of these things. But what is that? It is an entire platform of personhood. It is them spoon feeding you. This is your personality. These are your interests. These are your politics. These are your opinions. So that's why I think it's so effective at capturing kids. That's why there's such a focus on it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think that some people, I really want to preface this by saying that I think it is a very small but very loud minority that I've never once encountered in real life, but has been hitting me on Twitter, that is going to play right into the left's trap with this, and is going to give the left, they're going to create the homophobia and all this shit that the left has been crying wolf about. They're going to create the homophobia that the left has been wanting and dying for. And they're going to, because I already see, there's definitely a huge increase in people who are against gay people, and you're sick and you're this and all that. And I'm like, you morons. You are giving the left a giant gift wrapped up in a bow. They have no concept of how the right marketing themselves and turning themselves into, first and foremost, the anti-gay party. They have no concept of how that repulsed an entire generation to them. I was one of them.
Yeah.
And they want to bring us back there. It's insane. The left would love nothing more. It's insane. It's insane. Every time, I'm just so sick of it that every time the left is playing chess and we're playing checkers. We're not even playing checkers. We're playing with our poop. We're playing with fucking crayons.
Yeah, or trying to eat them, or along with the Tide Pods. Well, and you just brought up something, and I've heard other people mention this. The first person I heard mention it was Gary Beekler, aka Nerdrotic. Shout out to the dude. There is a backlash that is building over all of this, and it is frightening to me because here's the worry that I've got. Gary Beekler is also voiced this. A certain loud and vocal minority keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and I think you're right. We may not have reached the point of I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore, but it's going to take one more push, and the backlash against gays and lesbians in this country. And again, I do not want violence. I do not want anything other than peace. But the backlash that's coming,
or at least targeted at the right people.
Yeah, exactly. Targeted at the right people.
Especially, I think, especially like in schools, in the medical establishment, the majority of people pushing this are heterosexuals.
Yeah.
It's these liberal white teachers.
Yeah.
I will say, and again, I don't want to by any means overstate this because, like I said, it is a very small, very loud minority. It's not one I've ever encountered in real life. But I have noticed that in the last couple weeks, I've gotten like more anti-gay shit than I've gotten in the entire years that I've been doing this.
Yeah, and it's just, I'm getting worried. I mean, normally I wouldn't. I mean, for people that's like, oh, we're headed for civil war. Oh, we're headed for this. No. The strands that still bind us are strong enough to be able to withstand the pressure put against them. Those strands are getting frayed. And I'm really getting nervous. Do I think we're to the point where, like, I'm not going to go so far as Tim Pool, Civil War. No, please, thank you. Yeah.
I've stopped watching all those people, I swear.
Yeah, well, the beanie is just his own.
It's on too tight.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you need to, like, either, unwind that thing a little bit,
I
change
call them
it out.
appropriatons. These
Do
people
what?
who are so appropriate.
Appropriatons? Yeah.
They're so appropriate. They're so concerned with being very appropriate and appeasing everyone.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're to the point that, I will, I'm kind of like Vincent D'Onofrio in that remake in The Magnificent Seven, where he, it's the standoff just before the gunfight starts, and Vincent D'Onofrio's character comes and says, "I'll say a prayer for you, a very small one, but I will pray for you."
Oh.
I'm like, yeah, we're kind of at that point. It's like, yeah, I might pray for you, but it's gonna be a real small prayer, dude. I mean, it's just, yeah, something's got to give. It's just, I worry, I really do, and it's just, I walk around and I see this stuff, and it's just like, oh God. But there's one piece of advice you give, and I give you a ton of credit for it, and I love y'all out there in social media content creation because y'all have your own vocabulary, and I'm still trying to learn it because it's like, oh, that's an interesting phrase. What's that mean? Touching grass. Every so often, you've got to get out and touch grass. You've got to turn off the computer, turn off Twitter, go walk in the park. Go walk a dog, pet a dog. Feed a cat. Do something. It's just totally off the grid. That's normal. Because this stuff will run you nuts. It really will. So.
No, people, and especially when it comes to like politics, where people need to have something outside of that. They'll go insane.
Oh, exactly. That's why I drink a lot. No, heavens no. I tell people all the time, if I actually drank as much as I joke about it, I'd be the biggest alcoholic in my hometown. I'd be like,
what's really good? I went out with friends a couple weeks ago. I had a friend staying with me. We went out peanut butter whiskey.
Screwball.
That's what it's called. It's so good. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Funny you should mention this.
I need to go
I
get some.
do what?
I need to get some. It was really good.
Well, I'll tell you who would drink it with you, and
Yeah.
I'm not, and this was she popped into my live stream on Saturday morning. It was totally unexpected. Gigi Dior has
Oh,
a,
really?
has a thing for Screwball.
It was so good. It was
Oh,
so
it
good.
is. I have friends of mine that just swear by it. And yeah, but we were talking, and and how it came up, and this is all out on YouTube, Twitter, and everything else. So it's not like I'm saying anything out of school here. She had this T-shirt on that said "Workouts and Whiskey," and I said, "Oh, okay, all right." What I said, no wonder you and Biscotti get along so well. I said, "Okay, what kind of whiskey?" And she said, "Well, I'm really partial to the one that's got the whack." I was like, "Oh, Maker's Mark." She's like, "Yeah," and she said, "And there's this peanut butter one." I was like, "Screwball." She's like, "Yeah, that's it." I was like, "I have friends of mine that swear by that stuff. I get it for friends of mine at Christmas." But yeah, Screwball's good.
So good. I didn't even know that was a thing. It was amazing.
I'll give you a recommendation for another one. And you can probably get it in New York City anywhere. It's called William Wolf. But the thing that I love about it, it's a flavored whiskey. The one that I have up in my cabinet is pecan flavored whiskey. Now, oh yeah, I can, yeah,
I love pecans.
oh, then dude, you're gonna love this stuff. Now, I will give you two recommendations. You can drink it any time of year. Don't get me wrong. My recommendation: drink it in the late fall or the early winter when the first snow comes down, because this is sort of a winter sort of drink.
One
But
second,
you
by
can
the way,
drink it.
I'm listening. I just have to open my window. It's hot as balls in here.
Oh, go right ahead, sir. Please. I'll vamp for a little while. I'll see if I can find
Okay.
something to talk
I
about
got
because God knows it's not like I can't carry on a conversation for 2 hours. But yeah, you go ahead. Open
I
it.
got it.
Okay, so drink it in the late
There's the
fall or
one. There's
early.
the one room that I have no air conditioner.
Oh, bless your heart.
It's the one that
Bless your
needs
heart.
it.
So yeah, drink it in the late fall or early winter when the first snow comes down, and do it over ice. Now, if you like your whiskey neat, cool, that's fine. I get it. Me, just give me 3 cubes of ice in a glass like this, and
Oh, you're making me wish I had some.
dude, if
I'm
the
gonna go get
occasion
some tomorrow.
when next we meet, I will make it a point, and I do remember these sort of things. I will make it a point to bring a bottle of Screwball and a bottle of William Wolf.
It'll be in Florida too, hopefully.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Beach party. I want to have
Hell
like.
yeah.
Oh,
Hell yes.
I just want to be in Florida.
Oh, I can't blame you. I mean, one of the most glorious things I always love about the ocean, and I don't do it very often, but I need to on a regular basis whenever I go south. Sit on the beach and just watch the sunrise. There is, and just listen to the waves
I
lapping onto the sand.
I can't even fathom that. Yeah, no, my grandparents moved to Florida when I was a kid, so I would like go there a lot, and it's not far from where I'm moving to. But oh, it was so great.
Oh, dude.
I couldn't possibly be more over New York. Like sometimes I'll get a message from somebody that's like, "Oh, I'm coming to New York. Where should I go?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know. Like nowhere. Just don't go somewhere else."
Oh, yeah. It's just, and it's a shame because New York City is one of those great metropolises in
It
the world
was.
that,
It
yeah,
was.
yeah, you know,
But Democrats destroy everything they touch.
yeah, pretty much, woke goes to shit. Yeah, sorry. Well,
It's
dude,
it's so.
yeah. So we're going on 2 hours here, and I do not want to detain you because I know you've probably got stuff to do and sleep.
I told you people think that I have some like cool shit. I would be watching Are You Afraid of the Dark in my jammies and probably and like raging on Twitter. That's what I do. No, I do actually have. I'm working on a bunch of video. I have like a couple big videos because so like my like YouTube long form videos have been very neglected, but it's just hard time thing. It's like work and trying to make money to get out of here but I'm sorting that out now.
Oh, dude, I can
so
relate. I work a 40-hour job. It just so happens this week I'm on staycation. So I've been trying to like crank out videos and do whatever, and it's just like, I mean, that's why I jokingly said I'm trying to figure out the algorithm. To me, it's that scene in Excalibur where
It's my
Percival, comes upon the Grail and he gets asked the question, "What is the secret of the Grail? Whom does it serve?" If I understood the secret of the algorithm, oh, dude, I'd be busting a video out 3 times a day.
I got this guy I know who has a great horror channel, Cody Leach, gave me some good tips on it, but depressing tips, because apparently, I didn't know any of this, but apparently if you do a video on YouTube that does well and you put out one after that does not do well, you get like massively deranked, which sucks for me because it's kind of my goal for my channel to be a little bit of a variety of different things. Like
Yep.
I want to do political videos, story time videos, film related videos. So that's not great for views, but yeah, no, I'm working on a couple things. My next video will be my 100th upload. So I think it's very fitting. It's going to be my new walkaway video. It's going to be about what happens after you walk away. So you've walked away and now what? Sort of. So my first one told the story of like, to that point on, this will tell the story from then to here.
Oh, cool.
But one that I'm really excited to do will be my one after that. I'd planned to do this last year, but my dad had a stroke last year, so it got bumped to this year, and I didn't plan it very well. But yeah, I want to put out a series of videos called Dark Side of the Rainbow. So my first one is going to be the truth about the gay culture, because I mentioned this before. Trans people are taking all the blame for everything. And let me tell you, as a gay man, that is very incorrect, because yes, it's probably the worst of it, or it's one of many problems there, but we've got plenty of our own in terms of the culture. Like, let's say there are these people who say LGB drop the T. And I completely understand why they feel that way, because it's really not the same thing. But let's say you did that. Okay. Trans is out of the equation. You still have queer theory. You still have this toxic, corrosive culture. You still have drag queen story time. You still have indoctrination. It does not change anything. And I think a lot of these gay people are trying to absolve themselves of any of the things with our people that are very wrong. So I'm making a whole video bashing the gays.
Oh no, I can't see you bashing anyone, Mikey. You're a fountain of sweetness and light.
I told you, I'm a bitch, but I'm an honest bitch.
Well, rather I'd have an honest bitch than a dishonest bastard, I guess. I don't know. Oh, Mikey, this is just gloriously fun, and dude, I have to thank you. This is amazing.
You got to come on my show.
All right, no, let me know when you want to do it, dude.
Say, by the way, you're gonna experience this now. I hadn't experienced this until I was trying to like put out as many live shows as I can.
Sure.
People are a pain in the fucking ass. The number of people would blow your mind who have canceled or whatever because they didn't like something I said, or I've been ghosted by more guests than I've been ghosted by guys.
Really?
And that's a big number to beat.
Mikey, I can't see anyone ghosting you. You're witty, you're charming, you're
Oh,
a handsome
darling.
son of a gun.
No, you are.
Oh, bless you, sir. But no, I mean seriously, anytime you want me on your channel, dude,
yes,
let me know. And hey,
I'll
and I'll tell you the same thing I told Daniel and Brantley. If you got something you need to get off your chest, get out of your system, or you just want to talk about you got something you want to promote, you let me know. We will set it up. I will bring you on here, and dude, the floor is yours.
You too, of course.
Oh, absolutely. So as we wrap this up, if you're not subscribed to Mike Harlow's channels, do it. Where can people find you, my friend?
You can find me on Twitter at not Mike Harlow. I had to masquerade as not Mike Harlow for a while, but I think there might be a chance now that Elon has taken over that I might be Mike Harlow. Banned 4 times. I'm one of the most banned people on the internet, for those of you who don't know. 21 bans across platforms, banned 4 times from Twitter. I will take... That's the other thing I have no humility about. I have no humility about my cooking, or that I have beaten more bans than anyone.
There's one other subject, but we'll do that one off the air.
Ah.
You dropped a comment one time in one of your written articles, and we'll discuss this off air.
Oh my God, I know what you're gonna say. How embarrassing.
I've never seen you blush, but this is as close as I'm going to get.
How embarrassing. There was context to me saying...
Oh, now we're going to drop the context card.
No, I should say, that was my one thus far paid subscriber only essay. So if you want to know what he is talking about, become a paid subscriber of my Substack.
Oh my goodness.
Out this week.
Oh my goodness. Mike Harlow.
That was the story. That was a saga.
And let me tell you something. Go out to his Substack, read this, because I remember, and I will give some context to it. He put out... I'll give context. I didn't say I was going to give anything away.
Give the context. Give the context.
Dude, I'm cheap, but I'm not easy. But anyway, he put out on Twitter, hey, I'm thinking about writing something that's more personal than necessarily political. Should I do it? And I responded and said, dude, so long as you give the full disclosure to people that this is what this is the context, they can decide for themselves to read it. Mike, I am not trying to blow smoke at you, dude. That was probably one of the sweetest, most personal things I think I've ever read. It was very touching. Genuinely, it was. Really.
Aww,
but yeah, you, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mike Harlow. You need to subscribe to his YouTube channel. You need to follow him on Twitter. You need to go out and become a paid member on his Substack. This is genuinely one of the most talented people you will ever come across. This guy is tremendous. Check him out. Please follow him in as many different formats as you can.
You're setting expectations too high. I'm going to be a disappointment to all of you.
You're not a disappointment.
Not this month, though, because I'm working on making a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. So,
well, I never know if people, because like I quit smoke. I have an addiction to soda. That's my last addiction. But I have one other one. I have a story time addiction. I have a problem. I need to go to story time rehab. I have a problem with telling stories about shit that happens to me. I finally got my comeuppance for it. A couple months ago, I finally got my comeuppance that like I was telling a story about someone and they were fucking watching. Which I had coming. I had that coming. That was karma biting me in the ass. I've told too many stories about... I never use names or anything. I'm not like that.
Of course.
But yeah, karma finally bit me in the ass. I knew that would happen.
I am not alone in this opinion. So, I mean, there you go. So, yeah, folks, if you're not following him, do so. Mike, thank you so much for stopping by this evening.
This is so much fun. You're the best. You guys need to be following him. He's just an amazing person. And let me tell you guys, the vast majority of people who do this shit fucking suck. Are so awful. Beyond comprehension. Horrible people. So it truly means so much to me when there's somebody who is so wonderful and so genuine and just such a great person and so good at what this. So like, I appreciate you so much, Brian.
Dude, we'll hang around for a few minutes. We're going to say our proper goodbyes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by this session of Chatting on the Front Porch, and we'll see you all next time.